there everybody, thanks for joining me today. My name's Jo and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator in the UK. I'm just here today to show you how to make this cute little gift box stroke gift bag. I'm not sure what you want to call it really. I made this actually for a blog hop last week, and I was asked to sort of give direction on how it was made. It's a really simple actual project, but it can be made in all different sort of sizes. But when we make things initially as demonstrators, quite often we making things on the go, we're making things sort of off the hoof, so to speak. So we kind of, measurements don't always come into everything because we just adjust things accordingly as we're designing them. So I had to sort of go back to the drawing board to actually do some proper measurements for you. So we're using 6x6 paper, which I'll talk to you about in a moment. So the one I'll be making this time is going to be very slightly narrower, and I'll explain why, because I wanted to get the most out of my paper actually when I was, rather than the way I did it originally. So this is using one of our brand new colours. This is called Tahitian Tide. Absolutely beautiful colour, and I just wanted to show the colours to you today. So we have 5 new ink colours, and they last for 2 years, so every year we get new 5, and they're always met with much anticipation as to what we're getting, and sometimes we like them all, sometimes they have to grow on us, sometimes we don't like certain colours, but that's just nature, you know, everybody likes and dislikes different things. So I have to say, I don't think there's any colours I don't like entirely. Some I'm not fond of, but that's that's the way it is. But I have to say, honestly, this time I'm in love with them all, so I think you're going to love them. So this is our In Colour Designer Series paper. So this is just a good way for me to showcase the colours to you. So these come in 4 patterns, in fact, and I can't show you all 4 because I haven't got any of the spotty one in the Tahitian Tide left. So let's start with this one. So this is Orchid Oasis. So as you can see, it's got this really lovely sort of purpley blue. It's really gorgeous, and it's much nicer in real life, I promise you. So these are the 2 patterns on this side, and then if we flip them over, we have this beautiful sort of plaid and this sort of stripe here. So 4 patterns, and you get 4 sheets of each as well, so it's really cool. So you get loads and loads. So that's Orchid Oasis. This one is Sweet Sorbet. So this is sort of red, but it has a pink tinge to it sometimes as well, so it's quite nice sort of it's not so bright as something like Poppy Parade, or not as deep as something like Real Red. So it's sort of a nice in the middle one, really. It's quite nice. Now this one, although it seems really bright, is absolutely gorgeous, and it has yellow and sort of lime green tinges to it as well, again depending on how the light picks it up. And I'm going to be using it today just so you can see it a little bit better. So that is Parakeet Party. We've then got this one, which is called Starry Sky, and again this is sort of a deepish blue, but it's not as deep as our Night of Navy. It's just a lighter tone really, but on the same sort of tonal scale, if that makes sense. I'm not explaining myself very well, am I? I know what I mean. But anyway, it's a really beautiful colour, and that's what I'm going to be using with you today. And then, as I say, this is our Tahitian Tide, which was what the original box was made with. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to have a little bit of fun with it today, and we're actually going to stamp the actual basket itself as well, because I thought that would make it a really nice, something a little bit different. But I'm going to be using thick basic white. Okay, so I will try and get together some imperial measurements, but this is metric measurements for the sake of the video today. And what I want to do, so this is our full A4 sheet, and I'm going to cut it at 9.6. I'm giving myself an extra millimetre on my measurements so that you'll see as we go on exactly why I've done that. Okay, and I want to score this now at 12.5. So 12.5 centimetres, and then I also want to score at 17.2. Now again, this is giving me just a little bit extra that I need in the gap in the centre here. Okay, so that is why those measurements are a little bit odd, but you'll see why shortly. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to stamp directly onto here. So I'm just going to grab my masking. Okay, so I've got some post-it notes here, so I'm just going to use these as my masking for now, because what I don't want to do is to get some ink onto this middle section. So I'm just going to use a couple of post-it notes. We've got masking paper coming in the new catalogue, which I can't wait to get my hands on, because that's great for this sort of technique, or to mask things off where we don't want ink to appear. Okay, so the stamp set I'm going to be using with you today is another brand new one. This has literally landed on my doorstep about an hour ago. So I haven't used it yet. It is brand new to me and to you, but I thought we'd have a little bit of fun with it and hope it works today, but we'll soon find out, won't we? So anyway, so this is a really lovely one, and it's got some gorgeous dies that come with it, which again, we'll be using a little bit. So you can see it's got all the flowers, heads, the leaves, and it's got this, it's the word send in. You probably can't see it properly from there. We will be using that in like a fine print, and then you've got like a shadow one underneath it. And we've got some little other greeting bits, some little flowers. There's those really sweet little things there. So looking forward to really, as I say, these landed about an hour ago. So these are really brand new to you and to me. So we'll see. So as I say, I'm going to be using the brand new colours. So I'm going to use Parakeet Party first of all to put my flower stems on. So I'm just going to ink this. Now, as I say, these are brand new. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stamp it off onto my page, just to make sure that when the stamps are actually manufactured, they have like a bit of a sort of chalky sort of coating on them sometimes, or like a dusty, I think, from the manufacturing process. So I'm just going to stamp that off first, just to make sure that I've not got any nasty bits that I don't want. She says she's just seen a little speck. Okay, I think we're good to go. Okay, so my flower head is here and here. I've got two on this one. So I'm just going to stamp it off to the side, and I've got 1 and 2. Okay, I've also got another stem here, which has one off to the right. So again, I'm just going to stamp that onto my desk, just to make sure there's nothing horrible on there. And I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. Okay, I'm going to repeat it on this other side in a moment. So then I'm going to go very brave with the new sweet sorbet. So let's get my daisy head here. It's just fun when you get new stamps, just to have a little play with them. So you can see, let's have a look, which way up would I put this? Oh no, it's definitely got to be that way around. Okay, so let's ink this through, and I'm just going to place it over the top. Don't worry if I'm going off the page here. Okay, and then I'm going to pop another one over here. Now there is a different daisy head, which I might put there. So I'm going to do this one again over here. Okay. And then there's some little centres for the middle of your daisies, would you say they are? I'm guessing they're daisies. So I'm going to go back with my Parakeet Party, I think, for those. So these are going to go in here and here. So pretty. Okay, so this is the other daisy. So this is sort of like a sort of open daisy almost. I'm just going to stamp that off. I didn't stamp off that little middle one, but it was a little stamp, so we got away with it. Okay, I'm going to pop this one here. Okay, and then this one has a really cute little top. So it looks like a little top, and then it's got like a little skirt on it here. So I'm just going to ink that as well. and pop that on top of my daisy. Okay, how pretty is that? So we're going to be adding the blue to it, so it's going to really pop out at us. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. I'm just going to flip this over. I'm going to replace my masks, and if you notice, I'm just going just below the score line. So that just means that ink won't get into that score line, but it also won't get onto my piece in the middle here, which is where I don't want it. So I'm going to ink again. I'm going to try and roughly put it where it was before, but I'm not too worried. We're only going to have a sentiment on one side of it, so so bright and beautiful. I love it. So daisy head again. Remember over here. As I said to you before, it's very difficult when we're recording to actually see exactly where we're stamping. So if we're ever out, you know that it's not us. It's just the fact that we can't see properly. Okay, I'm going to stamp this one here. And then I'm going to close that up because I've finished with that one now. And then I'm just going to put the top in my daisy. And then the inside on these two again. It's better that time. We'll have that one at the front. Okay, so that's our little bit of stamping done. I thought it'd just be a little bit of fun as it was brand new in my letterbox today. And what I have actually done is I've actually cut out the send-in. And that's going to go on the front of our bag, but we'll sort that out in a moment. So I've done that in Starry Sky, which is the new blue, and the that's one of the new little embellishments as well. So if I show you those, these are our matte decorative dots, and they come in all of the 5 new in colours. You can't see the red one up there. But there you go, you can see, and they're actually ombre, so they start dark and then they go lighter, so you get a really nice sort of mix of colours in there. Okay, so right, let's get cracking. So now what we want to do is we just want to burnish this, and if you want to round the corners, now I know we don't really have a corner rounder available now, hopefully we'll get one back another time. But I'm sure most of us have some kind of corner rounder in our kit. Okay, now I like to round corners for things like this for 2 reasons. Firstly, I think it aesthetically it looks nice, but I think secondly as well, it stops the corners getting a little bit tatty sometimes if they're sort of like carried around or whatever. So it's quite nice to sort of just round those corners. Okay, so next thing we want to do is to make the actual part that goes inside our box here, okay? So you're going to need, if you're using a 6x6, you're going to need 2 pieces. If you were using a 12x12, you could miss out one of the steps, which I'll talk to you about as I go. Let's move some of these stamps out of the way. Right, okay, so as I say, I'm using Starry Sky. I like both sides, if I'm honest. Where should I go? I'm going to go dots because then with the other bit we could use the tartan if we wanted to. But we'll see how we go. So this time I want to cut both sheets. If you've got a decoration on the reverse, you want to make sure that the decoration is the same direction. So I think it wouldn't... Oh yes, it would matter. Can you see where those white lines are? So you want to make sure that they're round the same way before you cut them. And you want to make sure that your direction of pattern is that way if you haven't got an all over pattern like I have. I'm actually going to cut through both of these at the same time. Then I know that I've got them right. Okay, 10 centimetres, and these 2 pieces are going to be used to do our scallop at the top of our bag. Okay, so now we want to score this. So I'm going to, first of all, and it's identical for both pieces, I'm going to score at 1 centimetre. Now remember, you're scoring DSP here, so don't push too hard, because sometimes you can actually go through the DSP if you're not careful. So at 1 centimetre, and then I'm going to score again at 5.5 centimetres. Okay, I'm going to turn it 1 turn to the left, and then I'm going to score at 1 centimetre on this side here. Okay, so I've got 1 centimetre, 5.5, and then 1 up the bottom here. So I'm going to repeat that again. So we've got 1 centimetre, 5.5 centimetres, 1 turn to the left, and then 1 centimetre again. Okay, now if you were using 12 by 12, so if you're using 12 by 12 DSP, you could miss out this 1 centimetre here, because we're actually going to join these together. So if you're using 12 by 12, you're going to cut it to 29 centimetres by 10 centimetres. Okay, you're going to score at 1 centimetre, 5.5, 15, 19.5, and that will be your score lines, and then you can just join them. You'll see as I go exactly where we are. Okay, so I think we've got that sorted. So first thing I want to do is to trim off my corners and where my score lines meet, and then on this corner I'm just going to cut straight across. Okay, really simple. So again, I'm going to cut straight across. I've got sticky scissors. Let me grab another pair if I've got one to hand. No, we might do. I had a busy weekend with demonstrations and haven't cleared up properly yet. Okay, so I'm just going to burnish all those lines. Okay, and then I'm just going to join these two pieces together. Now this is where, if you were using the 12 by 12 DSP, you wouldn't have to do this. It's better. Okay, so when you're joining two pieces, you want to go up to the score line and not over it, okay? And you'll get a much nicer finish. And then go to join the other end as well. So I like to lay it flat. I'm not going to put quite so much glue near the edge this time. And then I just like to close it shut and just again, just up to that line. Just make sure that it's all glued down nicely and it's nice and secure. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to create these side pieces, okay? So you need to measure in that small section here, we're going to measure at 2.25 centimetres, so it's the centre point. And again, okay, so then I'm going to take my picker tool, and when I've got that pencil mark, I'm going to go to the diagonal corner. I'm doing this really lightly. You don't need to do it really firm, just really lightly. Okay. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to do the same on the other side. You could, of course, done this before you actually glued the two sections together. But it's not absolutely necessary, just as long as you're careful. Okay, and then just very carefully, I'm just going to bend this on those lines. I don't want to fold it as such. I just want to kind of bend it over. So I'm not folding it as such. I'm just really just bending it over just to give it that sort of shape. Okay. Okay, so you can see that's going to close up like so. Right, okay, we are nearly there. So the next thing you need to do is you just need to cut yourself a piece of coordinating cardstock. And I just need to make that straight. And this needs to measure 4.2 centimetres by 9.2 centimetres. So this is just marginally smaller than our base of our box, and that's going to fit inside once we've stuck everything into place. Okay, so the next thing I want to do before I actually get everything in place, I want to cut some holes for my ribbon. Okay, now I'm going to put the scallops on the top as well, so I need to give myself a little bit of room. So if you look at this original one, so the side here is 10 centimetres, and I want my scallop to be level with that inside box. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to very lightly mark a point at 10 centimetres. Okay, in fact, what you could do, you don't need to do it lightly. What you can do is if you measure 10 centimetres from the score line, and you can actually draw yourself a line across, because that will be our guideline to actually pop our scallop across. So 10 centimetres, draw a line. Okay, so now what I need to do is to punch some holes for my ribbon. Now you're seeing the original one there, I actually lined them up roughly where those scallops were. And they are, well, they're about 5 centimetres apart, and we were 9.5 centimetres across here. So that would leave me with 4.5 centimetres. So again, 2.25 doesn't have to be precise, just 2.3 will be fine in from either side. And I've just marked it with a pencil. Now this is going to be slightly narrower, remember, so this is roughly where we want them. As I say, it doesn't have to be precise. And I'm actually going to do them both at the same time. You should be able to do this with a handheld as well, probably, but mine's a bit of an industrial one. And I'm just going up just above that line. Okay, so I've got my holes ready for when I want to do my next piece. So now, carefully, I'm going to glue these little flaps on the bottom here. And very carefully, I'm going to place it in the centre section. Now, you will recall we had that very strange measurement for with the extra 2 millimeters or whatever it was in this section here. This is to allow this room to move. Okay, so just make sure it's in those score lines, and you've got a chance to have a little wiggle. And I'm just going to get my bone folder just to push those pieces down inside. I'm then going to take my piece of cardstock that I cut a moment ago, and as I say, this is just going to flip inside just so it covers that base that you can see there. So it's just marginally smaller. It's just so that it fits nice and you don't have any rucking, but it will give you a nice finish. Okay, now if you wanted to, you could leave this like this. So you don't have to if you don't want to. And you could, of course, put a little message or something on here. But what I actually like to do is I actually like to stick my edges flat, because then these will sit nice and flat. I hope that makes sense. But first of all, what I'm going to do is these little scallops. So the scallops are taken from the name Scallop Contours dies. So these are the ones that go with the colour and contour stamp set, but it's got this beautiful scallop up here. Now you can make these scallops as deep or as narrow as you want to. I'm going to have to make mine a little bit narrower this time, because obviously we have the flowers stamped onto the bag. So I'm just going to cut these out quickly. I've just got my cutting machine off to the left. And remember, this is cut from the scraps that we cut off the paper to start with. So I've cut 2 scallops. Now I want to measure sort of depth on where I want the scallops to appear. So can you see, I don't want them to cover this flower at all. In fact, they're going to, aren't they, because of the bag. That's fine. We're going to have our scallops a little bit higher. Never thought about that. Now, that's a really good point. The scallops are going to have to go a little bit higher. Whereas I matched it with the sides on this one, they are going to have to go a little bit higher because of the flowers that I've stamped. But that's absolutely fine. I'm happy with that. So I'm sort of thinking about 1 centimetre here, just by eyeball, thereabouts. So I think I'm going to cut my scallop at 1.5 centimetres. So the way I do this is I would pop this into either my trimmer or my little guillotine here. And I'm going to make sure that the scallop tops are at the 1.5 centimetre mark. And then I'm going to chop it. So you can see that's going to sit across the top like that. So I'm going to do the same again. So the scallop tops are at 1.5 centimetres. Just make sure that they're all in line, and then chop. Okay, so I'm going to pop these on first, and I want to try and either have sort of 4 whole scallops, or I quite like sort of half a scallop, if that makes sense, or hanging off the edge, sort of there, sort of thing. So I'm just going to trim roughly so that I don't have lots of glue area that I don't need. I'm going to pop that one on top just so I can trim that the same. I just don't want lots of extra glued areas, really. Okay, so I'm going to pop this onto here. And I'm just eyeballing it, but I want roughly the same scallop either side. And then I can trim from the reverse. I'm going to repeat that on the other side. So it's strange how things develop as you adapt your decoration and stuff. So obviously I hadn't stamped on the original one, and I hadn't taken that into account for the scallops, but that's absolutely fine because it just makes everyone unique, doesn't it? Okay, so you can see the scallops are a little bit higher, but they're still matching with that side, which is the important part. Make sure they're stuck down nicely. And now what I want to do is I am going to glue my bag in place. As I say, this is totally optional. If you prefer to have it loose like this, then that's absolutely fine. But I like it closed up. I think it looks really nice. So I'm just managing to get my hand inside just to glue that down. Okay, and they can move slightly sometimes when you're doing this part, so just make sure that you've got everything nice and lined up and straight. Okay, so what I love is about the double-sided paper, of course, is that you get to see the pattern both sides. So we get the pattern inside and then we have the pattern on the side. So you get the both of them, which is lovely. Just going to pop a little bit more glue in that corner. Okay. So there we go, that's our little bag done. Now I'm going to use some of this beautiful new ribbon. So this again is in the in colour. This is the Starry Sky. Just a beautiful metallic sort of ribbon. It's called metallic woven ribbon, and you'll see that it has got like a woven effect, so you can actually pull it apart to make that weave just that little bit wider. So it's beautiful, so you can use it for so many different things. So I'm going to cut myself a length because I'm going to do a double one because I can, and I'm just going to close my box with it. Okay, didn't give myself a lot to play with there, did I? It's being mean with my new roll. It's a really soft ribbon, it's lovely. So it ties really, really nicely. I would normally give myself a little bit more to work with, but that's good. We'll go with that. So I've pulled it nice and tight, and then I can just adjust the ends as I want them. I love that frayed look. Okay, so that's our little gift bag sort of made. Now what I'm going to do is pop my little decoration on that I spoke to you about. So I'm going to position it. Sadly, it's going to cover some of my flowers, but I think it's nice you get that sort of vibrancy underneath it. Stick that on top. Again, arguably it might have been better to stick this whilst it was flat, but it's just the way we roll sometimes. Just going to hold that in place. Okay, I'll just let that go off for a second. And then the one last little stamp that I have got here is a love and big hugs. I thought that was nice. So it's sending love and big hugs. So again, remember this is a brand new stamp, and I'm going to do this in red. Stamps beautifully. It's that really nice clean font. And then I'm going to use the little die that came with that. So So that's going to cut that out beautifully for me. So there's our love and big hugs. And I think I might attach those with some dimensionals if I can find some amongst all the other stuff on my desk at the moment. As I say, we had this big event at the weekend, online event, and I'm still recovering from it, really, to be honest. It was a 12-hour marathon with my friends in the States, and yeah, it was good, really good. And we have another one in July, which if you go over to my blog, hopefully will be on there in the next week or two. And you can join in too. Really good fun. Okay, so I'm sending love and hugs. And there you go. That is your little gift bag complete. So I'm hoping the little adjustments we made along the way you kept up with. If you didn't, you can drop me a line and I will talk you through them. But I will try and make sure that all the measurements are really clear on the actual video once I've edited it, so you can see how it all comes together. So that's our original one. So as you can see, this one's just that little bit narrower. But yeah, I think it's really, really nice. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you again really soon. Take care. Bye.